Yeah, I'm here with my good friend Gary, which you should have seen a picture of us on there.
Or Galactic Gal.
Or Galactic Gal, if you want to call him Galactic Gal.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Gals, Galactic Gal, call me anything you want.
Well, my friend Gary.
Yeah, we're very good friends. I mean, I've actually come down today because one of my friends had to pick up someone like the services at Newbury. When he told me the other day, I said, I got in contact with Karen and I said, well, should I just come down? Like, we haven't seen each other face to face like this for a while now, have we?
No, the last time was Christmas after Mickey died.
Yeah, after Mickey. We see each other at Carl Shorten.
Yes, that wasn't
so long ago. That wasn't so long ago. It was just before Christmas, wasn't it?
December. Because, no, 30. Yeah, when he got buried, that was like the 5th of December.
That's right. Yeah, and we went down to Carl Shorten like to his grave with a lot of his Irish family and all that. So yeah, the last time I've been here actually was a long time ago.
It was a bit hard that day because all the youngsters wanted to joke. And then Mickey's brother, sister, me,
I think
Roy,
it was a wrong time to joke.
They were joking and thinking things were funny, and I couldn't grieve. I wanted to grieve a bit. I couldn't do it because they were all laughing.
It wasn't the time to sort of like joke. But anyway, my friend had to pick up someone down in Newbury, and I said, I'll go down and see my friend Karen. I can unfortunately spend one night here because I have to be back for my charity work tomorrow. But we're still going to do a couple of podcasts, aren't we? So.
We are, and then we're going to go in the jacuzzi later.
We've got a jacuzzi in the
later on
in the garden as well. So we put the jacuzzi on, and it's just warming up at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Hey, I was showing you my video about this. And what were you saying then?
Well, I was saying
basically you've got the water, the trees, then the mountains are behind that, and they're behind the mountains. Yet it's in the water here. So what did you?
Just when I first looked at that, it sort of like screams at me, virtual reality. It's like. There's too much going on in that picture for it to be the way we've been told science is meant to act, with the laws of physics and sort of like visual effects. Because it just seems to me with that particular photograph that the shadows, especially in the water, it just seems like...
You don't think that's real? You think that's an AI?
No, it's almost like AI. I think it is real.
Some of them, I say at the beginning of the video, are AI. I said nothing seems to be real now. But my one thing is, I found a lot of pictures which are on this video, but it just seems really strange that that mountain is well behind the water, but you can see it all in the water. How can that be when it's well behind? It's not just behind. It's well behind the water.
Well, I mean, it's
got to get past the trees and everything first.
I think a lot of people in our community are veering towards sort of like, not a simulation like Elon Musk simulation, but some kind of virtual reality world where we live in, because nothing really explains everything unless it's a supernatural world we live in, Karen. And
we do live in a realm.
We're still living in a realm. But I think we're co-creators. I think we're co-creators of this reality. And of course, the other side are terrified this knowledge getting out. This is hidden knowledge that's been going back sort of like, 200, 300 years, been hidden from us. And me and Christian, our good friend Christian, unfortunately has passed away. We're doing a memorial for him afterwards. We've done podcasts on this particular thing. How we've got lots of hidden knowledge, and they've been dumbing us down now for 200 or 300 years to keep us under the cosh and under the thumb. And
to break away from your senses.
Yes, they don't want us. They don't realise. They don't want us knowing how powerful we actually are. And this is why, they have to try so hard. They're working hard. Do you know something, Karen? Do you realise me and you just alone, and probably all the other people that we've done podcasts with, it's cost them millions to counteract videos we've done. That is how scared they are with people like us. It's cost them millions because they have to counteract it all the time. And it's quite great, really, to think that really I haven't really got any money at all, but they've had to spend an awful lot of money counteracting all the things I've said over the years and what you said.
Oh yes, you're my Tim Peake expert, aren't you?
Yeah, well,
book's still there.
The book's still there. Tim Peake Asked an Astronaut. And remember, I had the open invitation for him to sort of like counteract everything I had to say when I dismantled his book like 2 or 3 years ago.
Gary bought me that book. It's up there. I
found it in a charity shop, and I've said that's got Karen written.
There's loads of pages all bent over in there.
Where I sort of like went through and sort of like, well, let's go through this bit and this bit, and then you still see the bloke on mainstream TV, like still saying that he's going to space, which leads us on to the next subject, Karen, with regards to sort of like
Right, we're going somewhere else now,
Okay.
so we're just going to stop this for a minute.
Tom, tell everybody here why they changed to make sure the door doesn't open to the inside before you go ahead, Tom. Give us the breakdown.
Pressure. You've seen all pictures. What happens when an airplane loses a window at like 30,000 feet, right? It's madness, right? All the stuff you can get sucked right out of there, just like a guy Pat's eyes will go right out the window like going through a meat grinder. And so when this thing goes all the way up and comes back, there's this process they have to do to open the door and to allow the pressure to equalize outside to inside. Not just like you just open it, because the pressure inside is actually lower. So you open that door, that thing would lip open, and you'd have your bell rung. It would like blow you.
Open it up, Rob. Watch this.
No,
Look, close the door!
No, not yet.
Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see. That is correct. That is Jeff Bezos, our founder.
He has to step up with the official doohickey thing.
So we've just watched that little video, and I had this bit, like, if that has come, you know, when the show is coming through the atmosphere, it's all burning and everything like that. Why is the craft completely white?
Well,
where is the bottom of it? It's just like, what? It's just
I
dumped
picked
down.
up. I picked up on many things. What you remember, Karen? I've done numerous podcasts with you.
He says you can't just open the door like that.
About all the fake moon missions, because I was old enough. I'm probably
we've done that loads of times.
Yes, loads of times. I was
But
9 years old.
You can't open that door without it being. It's pressurised in there. If they open the door, it's going to go.
That was just plonked there. It's just a sort of big production.
Yeah, what's the other thing that's missing that you told me about?
Well, basically, right, this craft is just plonked there, and I actually got another view on this. Could it be like the door was deliberately opened, right, to sort of like show people in the truth community, hee-haw, look what we can do, and they still don't get it, the minions? Because I can't imagine like they would put that together and that to actually happen. I think it was.
Because they stage everything.
I think it was all staged, and I even opened that door. Well, it's even better than that. When you get the view from the inside, it's like a TARDIS.
Yes,
you can actually see. You can actually see that the actual windows look a different shape, and it's much bigger than what it is on the outside. So this is like a Doctor Who.
Showing you that view.
Yeah, that's meant to be that. That's meant to be that, and from the inside, it'll be as big as that. But another thing as well I picked up on. Do you know so-called astronauts like do years and years and years of training? So Katy Perry just thought, oh, well, no, I'll just go into space like it's easy peasy. So even if it was all true, but you know it's all fake, she's done no training whatsoever. They've just jumped onto a blinking, a penis-looking rocket ship, gone up, come down, as if nothing's happened. How's your father? And just walked out of there. Now we know that. All the astronauts, even though it was rubbish, they used to go on centrifuge.
Did you notice when they were coming out, they didn't have any helmets on or nothing?
No, there's no, and I noticed another thing as well. There's no like ground crew there at all. There's no sort of like emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
There's no emergency vehicles. Like if you remember, like all the Apollo sort of like missions and the Gemini missions, they always have sort of like standby emergency vehicles in case something was going to happen, to make it
fire engines and
even though we know it was fake, to make it look as realistic as humanly possible. It looks like they never even tried with this one. I find it laughable to think that would anyone actually believe that has happened. It seems quite bemusing to me. I should imagine there are people.
It's really hard to think all those people are in there because it doesn't actually look very big.
No. There's so much in this.
There's no, you know, if it's coming through the trajectory of, you know, the fire thing, why hasn't it got flame marks on it?
Well, for a start, like they can't get through the firmament. But I mean, another thing as well.
Yes, we know
they
that.
said they just went up. They said they just went up so high and come back, and they went to the Kármán line and come down. Apparently, well, you know, basically, this is just another production of what they did. You know, 55 years ago.
Do you know the saddest bit I feel, Gary, is that millions of people will believe this is real.
Exactly.
And this is how they can have the wars and everything else, because everybody's going to believe them.
Well, I mean, these people, like, you know, they have to do certain things. And if they're told, people like Katy Perry and co there, if they're told they've got to do certain things, they have to do them. And this was one of them. And it's a sort of like, basically, my opinion of this is, they still carry on doing this. It's a sort of like try and convince people that we're living on a globe, and you know, hiding God as well. Hiding God. Basically, you know, this is what this is all about.
Well, What they're making it sound like is anybody can go into space.
Yeah, they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it sort of like, you know.
You and me
like,
could go.
Yeah, anyone. If you got the money, to go. I mean, Katy Perry probably got paid handsomely for it, rather than paying how many $1,000s it actually was. She probably got paid handsomely for it, but she was told she had to do it because people look at her as a figurehead, you know, or him. Is it him or not? I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure either. I have the same feeling.
You know,
I look at her and I just think, why is her head the same size as Orlando Bloom?
I don't know.
She has the same head as all those pictures of them are superimposed together.
Is it another Magic Mike? Who knows? But we spoke about it earlier, didn't we? Saying what we done.
Well, I've just been showing. It was all President's Men. That's what I named the
yeah,
video.
yeah.
It was after Biden had been inaugurated, and all of them are there with masks on. And then Michelle Obama walks down the stairs, and you can see she's got a package in there.
Yeah, well, I seen a similar thing the other day with Taylor Swift. I mean, now could it be that sort of like they put something down there to make it assume that sort of like to?
No, would you? That'd be so uncomfortable. Come on, I don't.
Be very uncomfortable, especially if you ain't got nothing down there. Yeah, but.
She had a package in her trousers, Michelle
I mean,
Obama.
back to this. The whole thing from top to bottom, like, was just one big stage show, and it wasn't.
Also, do you notice, like, there's nothing from when they've landed. There's no boof. Like, where's the boof? There's no sand has moved. Nothing has done anything.
I mean, they didn't actually show. You know what makes you laugh with all these? It goes all the way back to the 60s.
They've been into space. Oh, they're back now, and there they are back.
You never have cameras like on board, sort of like showing when it's going up. You always see sort of like you see it going up, you see it coming down, and when they're getting up, you don't actually see it on the rocket ship itself when they're actually going up. See what I mean? You never ever see that.
Well, I did see one bit when the astronauts are in there and it's all going like this. That
was on the G plane. The G plane. That was when they were sort of like, you know, the G force.
Well, they're supposed to be going up in a rocket, and it was banging around a lot. But I saw that once.
But you know,
listen, one of my favourite videos I did was when two astronauts were outside, except one of them was frozen, and it was supposed to be live. So it's all just rubbish. Well, anyway, back to this.
Anyway,
so where's the bit where they've landed? Look, there's no crater, like a little bit of a doof where they've landed.
I mean, I used to.
And you think it landed perfect? Where's the blue? The parachute.
The balloon. Parachute.
Where's
the parachute?
Balloon?
Where's the parachute? You mean the parachute?
Yeah.
They use a parachute.
Sorry,
yeah,
I mean a parachute.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where's the parachute? What? It could just land perfectly like that?
I used to watch Lost in Space in the 60s, and that looked more realistic than what this does. It looks worse than sort of like obvious, but you know something? I think they got to the situation now, Karen, where they can do anything, and some people are never going to get it. I mean, I could probably walk over the road light to one of your neighbours.
Oh, they did land. Did you see
and
that?
They'll turn around and say,
Origin. Yeah, did you see it? It was good, wasn't it?
Do you know? It never actually happened. It was all the stage. What you would get is, why would they do it? You get the same answers all the time.
Why? Because they can make you believe that every war they have is real.
Exactly. Like, you know, we've done podcasts about it. You know, every war's scripted.
Well, we watched the film, haven't we? The 1968 film when Donald Pleasance and they take him into that room.
Do you know
I was showing that to Jimbo.
The strangest thing is, it's so sometimes life can be so simple, but people make it complicated. I've actually asked military men before, why did they do what they done? And they turn around and say, and listen, I've got nothing against any military men out there. And they turn around and say, because I've been instructed to. And I say to them, yeah, but why did you do it? I'm not saying what you've been told. And they really ain't got an answer for it, because if they was to know like that, almost certainly like it's all been scripted, you've got to ask yourself, would they actually have done it in the first place? But that's a podcast for another day. We've been over that before, haven't we?
Well, I feel sorry for the people who believe that it's real.
Yeah, to think that sort of like people would actually still believe in this day and age like that this was an actual real event that happened, I really can't help you, you know. And like I said, I'm one of the old timers that told my dad like in 1969 that the original moon landings was fake, you know. But there you go. What can you do? Some people like living in a fake reality, Karen. That's all I can think it is.
Yeah.
That's all I can think it is. But anyway,
they can make you believe that anything is happening.
Yeah. But anyway, we've
down here of you know, because there's no way they could was that in there? The Blue Origin is suing.
Yeah, because people, what can they sue about? That we're telling the truth.
It is quite tiny, that thing, to think they were in there and that they didn't feel one bump.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it was a set-up job with the door open a little bit first of all. You know, people might disagree.
I
with
never
that part
thought of that they. But then, oh, that's Ellie doing some cat food. Ellie, we're taping. That's all right. Yeah. Well, there's something all wrong. There's no fire engines, no ambulance, no security,
no training to do it in the first
training.
place. I mean, William Shatner,
parachute.
if you remember, with Branson, Richard Shatner done a similar thing. He's in his bloody 90s. He's got more. He's got more chins. He's got more chins now than a Chinese phone book.
When it came down, it went dunk, 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 dunk. I thought he must have had a really rough journey back then.
But this is.
He comes out.
Listen, folks. This is the price you pay for having fame and fortune. It doesn't come.
This is the price you pay if you believe anything they say.
If you want sort of like untold riches, you get told to do things, and this is why I sort of like I haven't got anything, and these people have got millions in the bank, but I've still got my dignity, which they haven't got, you know, because they sell their soul basically.
And also on that video, the one that I took off, they said, quick, shut the door. What have you opened the door for? Shut the door. Where's Bezos? That's what they said.
Yes, but I think that was a set-up job. It's a show to us, like, look, if they don't get it now, they're never going to get it. You know, there's going to be millions of people screaming from the streets, shouldn't there? Not people in the truth community.
Well, this is what I reckon, Gary. In our general election, about 20% of the people voted. And in that 20%, Labour got the majority out of 20%. So they only got 12%. And they're doing all these changes and all these things to us on a tiny minority. It's not even a minority, is it?
Yeah.
It's just a tiny figure. I say that was a vote of no confidence. They're not talking about that.
That's right. That's right.
And even those girls today, where I was working, they're not into flatty and everything, but they know that Keir Starmer is hated and nobody wants him. They said it to me.
Yep.
The teachers at the school said it to me as well.
I've yet to meet someone that likes him at all.
When you know what he did before he came to power and he didn't sort that out.
When he was
I made
General.
a video before he was voted in and I said, you won't. Well, he wasn't voted in. They elected him. We didn't vote. Our votes meant nothing. They elected him. That's who they wanted.
Selected him. So he's just been selected. But you know, back to this, right? This is actually for me worse than what sort of like the Apollo 5 missions, because it looks like here they haven't even tried. They probably think now they can do anything they want to do, and people are just going to believe it. I mean, like the car in space with Elon Musk, you know. But I think that's about all we can say about this, Karen. I mean, it's diabolical, really. But like I said, you can see that sort of like inside is not the same as the outside. It's much bigger. The windows look a different shape to me.
But it could have been that they had a 360 camera or something like that, so it makes it look, they can get the whole picture in. But it's not very big in there. But they can make things look bigger.
Do you know
make
something?
People's gardens look
it's no
huge.
different. It's no different than the Apollo missions. Usually, it's Occam's razor. The most obvious answer is the one with the Apollo 5 missions, Karen. They went up the gantry. They went up the gantry light in the lift, got into the space rocket, come out. The space rocket took off. When everyone goes home, they just come down. It's a magician's trick.
Because look at that. That rocket wasn't very big then. If that thing there is that, it's not a very big rocket, is it?
If you ever watch Penn and Teller, it's amazing. Sometimes, like with magicians, the simplest thing is the answer, and this is what's happened here. It's just an old-fashioned magician trick. They got in, got out, and then got in. They were put in that little capsule at the end, the little landing capsule, like, and then they got out of it. I mean, they got out as fresh as daisies, didn't they?
Do you see that? They're only just above the clouds.
They've had CGI, isn't it?
Is that supposed to be their mission? Because that one's just above the clouds.
I mean, you see the curve of the Earth.
Do you know what that is? That's half a mile up.
You see the curve of the
Clouds
Earth as
are
well.
half a mile up.
You see the curve of the Earth as well, like when they was up there. It's all CGI.
Oh my God, how pathetic! They've just got to.
You can see that one there in the middle. Look, bring that back there. Look, you can see the curve of the Earth. This one, look, put highlight it. See
that one?
Yeah, you can see the curve of the Earth there.
But you can't
because it's not. The Earth isn't curved, so obviously not. It's all CGI.
Yeah.
But you know, if anyone still thinks hears this podcast, like, and they still think it's all real, I really can't help you, mate. Or
that's what it's for. So she had a photo shoot with a.
Yeah.
I mean, look at her neck there in that one. Oh, I've just got to show you this one. Oh, look at her neck there. Look at that. What is that? There's something in the middle. Anyway, is that all you wanted to do?
I think so.
Yeah, we've covered that one.
So, right.
Well, we know how you feel about that one then. Well, I felt the same.
I thought it was all true. I thought everything about that was true, 100%.
Well,
I'm only joking.
Because they open the door first. Anyway, let's go on to the next bit.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that Gary was going to bring this one up, and only about a week and a half ago, me and Jimbo watched a documentary on this saying that everybody was telling him not to go down in it. This girl said it was breaking up. It just like it could have happened any time, but it just happened then, and that basically if they the actual legal side hasn't finished yet. That the answer to it all is coming out, whatever the answer is going to be. But it looks like they will charge him, the person who took them down, they will charge him with murder for the other ones.
Right. Well,
Is that what you think?
Well, I've got a pretty good view on this. From 1976 to 1980, I went to Willesden College of Technology, and I've got a City and Guilds, and part of that City and Guilds is in materials. And when this all came about, I would have known. Have you ever heard that saying that, Karen, that having loads of money and fame don't necessarily give you intelligence? Well, the people that went down on this sub literally needed their head examined. Carbon fibre hasn't got a good compressional strength at all. It's got good tensile strength. You can use it for aircraft wings, for cars, which they do. McLarens are made of carbon fibre composite. Push bikes, you can use it for various things. One thing it's not so good at is compression. He got the assumption that sort of like having 5 inches of layers of laminate of carbon fibre would give it a high compressional strength. Now the thing is, the trouble is with any laminates, I learnt this when we used to use fiberglasses, you have movements between the laminates. Even under normal conditions, under sort of like, this is why sometimes if you see a car, right, that's had body filler in it, after a couple of years, because there's different materials, you've got like aluminium or metal with plastic fiberglass or body filler, and you can tend to sort of like see the edging on it, the feather edging. Now, with this, it was going down numerous times, but I don't believe it went down 80 times. I cannot believe, for the love of me, right, that this went down 80 times without sort of like imploding before.
No, they did. On the documentary,
they went on very shallow dives, but going on really deep dives.
When they were starting to come up, there was these big bang bangs that were registered.
Yeah, do you know? Yeah, but that's what we've been told. But the thing is, like you see, you've got about two plus tons, maybe 2.5 tons of pressure per square inch down at 2 miles. It's very much like the inverse square of light. That's how we know the sun can't be where it is, like, because you won't be able to see it. With this, every time you go down, I don't know the exact figures, so don't quote me. Every time you go down 200 or 300 yards, it squares off again. The pressure's enormous.
Well, it took 2 hours to get down.
Yeah, the pressure's enormous now. He had a titanium sort of like front bit and a titanium back bit, but the whole middle, the main structure of the hull, which was like the main thing of the craft.
Right. So my thing is, if that's titanium, why is that bit all broken up and that bit's left?
Now, this is because...
Look, you can see how many people were in it
Let me explain to you, this is the reason behind this. Most deep submersibles are made out of 8-inch thick titanium, usually the shape of a football. The reason for that being, it's got even pressure all the way around it. So you've got the even pressure. This was the wrong shape anyway for a deep submersible. The front bit was made out of titanium. The back bit was made out of titanium. The titanium was really expensive. What he tried to do was a money-making exercise with materials that didn't fit the bill, basically. He got the assumption that if he could sort of like, don't get me wrong, carbon fibre is very strong in ordinary circumstances. You can make an aircraft out of carbon fibre. But with this, you've got, every time you go a little bit deeper, the pressure builds up and up and up. And how far they were down was probably about sort of like 2.5 tons, not 2.5 tons per square inch, right? So you imagine how much pressure there was on that whole craft. It was being compressed all the time. It was. So
how did it explode like that?
It imploded because it got weaker every time. Now.
So why didn't that bit implode?
Because this is still part of the hull. It basically broke up. It snapped. Once it snapped, You see, what you got to remember, the inside's pressurised.
Did they get a big, like, would it have been like
It just
1 second they were there and the next minute they would
in milliseconds they'd be dead. In milliseconds, the pressure would just. I mean, I don't know whether they didn't actually say they found any
They
bodies.
lost contact with it, you know
Right.
that, so there was a problem down there.
But there's more to this.
Gary, they lost contact with it before
Now,
it went bang.
I'm going to tell you something.
So they lost contact with the thing.
That I'm not sure this was mentioned on that programme. Do you know what controlled that? An Xbox bloody controller or similar controlled that. Yeah, I'm not joking. My mate Kevin has looked into it religiously.
Well, I find it hard to believe it was real, to be honest.
Well, I'm wondering. Do you know something?
They're saying these people died on it.
Usually, now listen.
A boy of 17 supposed to have died on it.
Listen. I'm going to say a terrible thing here, and I hope none of any of the families of people that supposedly died on this craft like actually happened. I cannot believe that highly intelligent people that spent like a couple of $100,000 or whatever it was, $250,000 or whatever, right, would go down in a thing like that, not doing their research. Now, the geezer that does Expedition X, this is where I think I smell a little bit of a rat. If you watch that programme, I watched that geezer, I think his name is Josh something, I can't remember his second name, but I watch him, he does Expedition X, he goes all around the world. Well, that guy, if you noticed, he turned around and said things were going wrong on land. He said, oh, the computer's gone down, don't worry, before we go down, Josh, I'll have it repaired for you. And too many things were going wrong. And my mind started swirling, and I thought, is this geezer, if it had been just that bloke that passed away and no one else, and I thought, has this geezer got gigantic debts with people, and he's going to fake his death? Because it's not going to be the first time that someone's done sort of like that. Reginald Perrin, there's a series called Reginald Perrin where this guy, Leonard Rossiter, and he faked his own death. And if you remember the guy up, the canoe boat man, he done it as well. We done a podcast about it. But because there was other people involved, and you see the geezer's wife at the end, I can't imagine. I think this event actually did happen. This Stockton, or whatever his name was, right? He was a narcissist, and he just thought he bypassed. This is the difference, Karen, between people that are part of elite families and other people. This craft would have never passed safety tests. He bypassed a lot of safety tests to take this craft down.
He had to, because I think there were so many loans. He had to keep using it.
Exactly, but I don't believe that this thing went down to the Titanic.
That one was 17.
I don't believe that this thing went down to the Titanic 80 times or whatever, because it wouldn't have lasted that long. It's already gone through one hull. Did you know that? He had to replace one hull already. So when they made the carbon fibre sort of like meshing, basically it's try and imagine like they're making a very thin cake, but it's webbing, and then they've got special gel, and then they do another layer and another layer and another layer, and it's called a composite. In the material world, it's called a composite, and it was 5 inches thick. Now, you could make an aircraft wing out of that, and you could probably jump up and down on it. It's not going to cause anything, but with the extreme pressures that this particular thing went through, it was never going to hold out. They even had, I'll see a program once on Discovery, Karen, about submersibles that are made out of.
See, look, there's a picture of him in it. It's not very big.
8 inches.
How did they get 4 people
in
there?
It's tiny. 8-inch thick titanium, and they get micro cracks in it because of the pressure. So this thing was never going to last. Now the thing is, I don't know why he would have made it a bit stronger if he'd have had a titanium centre strut. He had titanium front and rear, but the whole middle section.
This bit here, then. Yes,
the whole middle section, was carbon fibre composite. Now, there in the middle, you'd have thought to give it a bit more strength. Titanium is extremely expensive. That craft made out of titanium would have probably cost 50 times as much as whatever it did. It's extremely expensive, but it saves people's lives. For me, the geezer.
Do you know what it's almost like? It's almost telling you can't go down to the Titanic.
You can do in the right submersible. We don't even know if
it's real because we don't even know if the Titanic's real, because remember I did a video. It was a mail ship. It was registered as a mail ship.
Yeah, but the thing is, whether it's the Titanic or the Olympic, and they changed, there's definitely something down there. But
that bit there, look, there you go. That's a good picture showing that bit's different.
The thing is, Karen, right? This should never been allowed to go to them even a quarter of the depth of what he did. I wouldn't have got in that thing. I'll tell you something, Karen. I could have gone, right, all them people that spent all that money, right, now I've lost a lot of my knowledge like on materials, but I could have sat them down and sort of like done a few maths on a bit of paper, like, and I said to him, do you realise like how much danger your life is in by going down in that? Because I don't think it's going to take the pressure. Because if I'd have seen this when this guy here was built, having this thing built, right? You see, the thing is, Karen, these people have yes men. He was part of elite families. He was wealthy beyond our dreams. He made his own aircraft and things like that. They bypass normal rules and regulations, and all these people that went down in this before, basically they were just very lucky. They was extremely lucky that it didn't implode before, because these people don't understand.
So how did they let such a young man on it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think the guy's got everything to answer for in heaven, because if you noticed, this is why that was the only thing that made me think. Is that
supposed to be the implosion?
The only thing that made me think it was real, Karen, is the fact that I think the wife was on at the end, and she was in her house. Like, now, all right, could she possibly like know what's happened, and like he's living in the other, beyond the bloody ice wall? Yes, very unlikely. It seems like this event actually did happen, but my point is, right, because you know we have to question everything now. We know that, we've done podcasts before. You've got to question everything. This particular thing should never have happened, because it should have never been allowed to go down to them extreme depths. Now, there's going to be people out there that know a lot about maths at me, but you can do some calculations.
What's that bit then? How do they know that?
Well, what happens is the more this thing was going down, all the laminates of the carbon fibre there was movement. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, with your car. With your car light, you have a bit of body filler in it. It looks fine for 2 or 3 years, but with the sunlight and cold, you've got materials moving at different sort of like rates. And what's happened here? The laminates have all moved. When I worked at Park Royal Vehicles, like we had this like with fiberglass, they move at different rates, like. And what's happened is every time this thing was going down, there's been movement in between all the different layers of laminate. Remember, it's quite thick. It's 5 inches of carbon fibre.
This is what this woman reported to him and said that it was dangerous to go down in, and he just carried on as if she never said anything.
And you know what really...
But why that, though? Everybody was telling him problems. When they were looking at it, they couldn't believe the problems. And yet he was still carrying on as if there wasn't any.
Do you know what really cheesed me off? At the end of that programme, if you hear what it said, a little subtext, it said, Ocean Gate refused to sort of like take any views what that woman said, because she knows nothing about materials. She bloody well does. She was 100% right. What she said is good. And you know something? This is why people like me, Karen, never go on to mainstream TV, because I know my stuff, like, and I can turn around and say, oh right, okay, well, you tell me anything she said was wrong, and then I'll tell you why it's not. Everything that bloody woman said was correct, right? And that thing should never have been allowed to go down there. She was 100% correct. And Josh, the guy from Expedition X, he said to his film crew, he said, I am not letting any of us go on that thing. He said, no way. He spotted it. And this guy's been like in the Himalayas. He's been all around the world investigating Bigfoot. I really like the bloke. I watch him all the time.
You know, when you see the big go, 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 then something's wrong. Because Dave said that he bumped into these people who were trying to go on a mountain, and it took them years to get permission to go on it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like,
Can't remember the name of the person.
He spotted it straight away.
He seemed to have the go, 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 and he was doing all these things, and now they're probably going to charge him with. How many people were on there? Let's have a look.
Do you know my life, Karen?
There was 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to charge him with 4 murders.
Yeah, and of course himself as well. I think the guy had huge debts that setting this thing up like. And what happened was, this guy had huge debts, and his only way of sorting this out was to risk people's lives by
But why
taking
take a 17-year-old on there?
Because the bloke was a narcissist. He just don't care. He's elite, and he thinks he can bypass.
But you know
rules.
they can make people up.
Yes, that is possible. Listen. It all seems to me, I'm going to say a terrible thing here. It all seems to me real, But there's a very, you know, I live my life in a swingometer thing, like with my Asperger's. There's a very little bit of me saying, was the whole thing a setup when they're all still alive? I'm sorry to say that, because if anyone hears it like say, oh, Gary, you're mad. Gary, you're mad. It's happened before.
You only saw pictures of the other. Well, you did see them going on to it.
It's happened before. It's happened before. You know, we don't know about the reality of Michael Jackson. We don't know about Elvis. We can carry on and on. So my point is it beyond the realms of possibility? Very unlikely in this case, I would say. Very unlikely. But the thing is, this was a disaster waiting to happen, Karen, and it should never. I've been waiting to do this, to come down here and do this with you, because these people that got on that craft, am I allowed to say the SHIT word? They knew Jack SHIT about materials and what they was letting themselves in for. I wouldn't have gone. I said to my mate Kevin after that program, I said I wouldn't have gone snorkeling in this thing. I wouldn't have gone snorkeling, because as soon as I heard, I know about materials, and carbon fibre is not a material to use what this is used for, and he's been told that. I'm not.
So how did he manage to get this far?
Because he bypassed normal rules and regulations, because elite do. He actually, if you notice in that program, Karen, he said this craft is registered in the Bahamas, so no one can sue me for anything. He probably knew himself like that, sort of like. This is what I can't work out, Karen. The people that built that thing, especially the hull, whoever built that hull, they must have known. They must have known it was never going to work at them depths. But at the end of the day, listen.
But you know, it's all around the Titanic.
They're making millions. They're making
it's all
millions.
Around the Titanic.
They're making millions out of it. They don't care. They're not going to turn around and say, "Oh no, well actually, we don't think this is the correct material to use." But
they've had these things that have gone down and looked at it before. So,
made out of titanium.
So why has this one come up like this? And it just seems that they're going to charge him for murder. Well, they could charge him, but he's dead, so I don't know how they do that. But he'll be made responsible.
95% of me believes he's dead. The thing is, you know, as a 5%, I'm still thinking, is he? That Stockton bloke, right? If you watch that program, he didn't listen to anybody at all, right, about anything, and people were bringing up these safety features, you know, all along the line, saying like, you know, how sort of like I said, you've only got to sort of like look at what control unit they use. It was something out of an Xbox or something like that, which seems.
Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's them.
Yeah. And
this is the toilet, because when they showed you, this bit down here has a toilet on it and a seat.
They have a little toilet where they have
a wee. So two of
them
are sitting down there.
Yeah, where they have a wee. Yeah, I mean the thing is, like, you know, to me, there's still a part of me undivided. You know, listen.
It's all to stop you going anywhere near the Titanic, I think.
Maybe it's all to stop us going down deep, because there's other stuff down there we're not meant to see, Karen. You know, like I don't know, if we have got a dome, it's got to go underneath as well. I mean, there's been parts of the world where they said the dome's been exposed. You know that when they've done really deep dives, they've seen like material down there, like whatever the permit's made out of, the blue glass or whatever, like, you know. So maybe this to scare people from going to extreme depths. That's only listen. That's an offshoot for this. But what I'm saying is, I wanted to do this. So
what do you think the purpose of this was then? Because five people have died. The thing should never have gone down. It wasn't made out of the right materials. Everything is wrong.
Yeah.
So what do you think was their goal? Because I think it's a story. It's a his story.
Well, either that, or he done a cut price thing where he was making huge amount of money out of, because he had a load of creditors to pay back. And of course, that puts my thinking cap on. What do people do, Karen, in life when they owe someone loads of people loads of money? They disappear, don't they? Working class people do it. So is it beyond the realms of possibility that
he's gone to the extra land now?
This bloke's disappeared. Well, at the end of the day...
One other thing. We're seeing bits of the craft here, but why don't they find bits of the body? It wouldn't have disappeared that quickly. It's only a few hours afterwards.
I think no, when it imploded, there might not have been much left.
So how come so much of it got left? If it imploded, why is that left?
Because once the uneven pressure light is sort of like equalised, that's left of it. If you got sort of like.
But it wasn't the only thing, because they just showed you down here. There was another bit, because they said
this is pressurised.
Yeah, look, there was this bit as well.
Yes, you're going to have bits of it left, but the actual people, Karen, are probably crushed to like next to nothing. You've got 2 tons per square inch.
That didn't get crushed. That didn't get crushed to nothing.
No, what happens is once the water pressure has gone inside and it's imploded, it sort of like all comes out and all the various bits go over there, like the Titanic. A bit goes over there, a bit goes over there, but the actual bodies themselves, they died. Listen, they was on it.
But you don't find anything. You find 2 bits of the machine. Like there's a picture down there of it floored.
They found
you find a bit of that and a bit of that, and in the middle where they were, well, roughly, there's nothing. There's not one thing.
No, because that's where the implosion happened. Because you got titanium either end. The weak part of that. Try and imagine this, right, Karen? A Rolls Royce. Imagine a Rolls Royce, right? Let's try and put it this way: was up on a ramp. And it dropped down on top of you. That's 2.5 tons. That just rolls about 2.5 tons on your whole body, right? You would get crushed to death, wouldn't you, straight away? Try and imagine that multiplied, where you got that inverse square law going down when you're going deeper. 2.5 tons. 2.5 tons. But it's times like this, God rest his soul. Really, Christian was here now because we used to rub off on each other, didn't we, and things like this, because his maths was superb. 2.5 tons per square inch, right? So that would be like try and imagine like 30 or 40 Rolls Royces on top of you, you know, or more, even more. You literally crushed to nothing. There's probably nothing left of them. There might have been.
But you would have thought they would have found maybe. Well, they weren't wearing snorkels or anything, which I would have had everybody in.
It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. Not at them deaths. You're going to get crushed to death. You can't live. You cannot. Divers can't go that deep.
So how come that thing survived down there then? Really?
Because originally it got away with it for so long. If it did go on multiple dives down there, because the structure held out to a certain degree, but every time it went down, it got weaker and weaker and weaker. Like I was saying, the layers of laminate of the actual middle structure, if you notice, the titanium ends were fine. There was no. Although, do you know another thing about that? One day the actual bolts sheared off. He had 4 bolts holding the nose cone on when he was told to put 18, and literally they were just nuts and bolts. Now, when you get down to a certain pressure, no water's going to get in because the water pressure on the outside is pushing the end bit right onto that middle bit that was made out of carbon fibre. But it had another bit of sort of like titanium there, but it's being pressed together. But at one time it's still sheared, the bolts sheared. Now, shear strength is another thing altogether, right? To shear bolts that are sort of like that thick, made out of hardened steel, the pressures are ginormous. But one time the actual bolt sheared, but that was a second hole. He did have another hole, as I said earlier, that he had to replace. So the middle bit has already been replaced once, and that should have put out some red flags. Anyone that was willing to go on that after that said, why did the first one not take it? He must have lied to him. Or like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Karen, God, you can tell what God thinks about money, right, for the kind of people he lets have it. Because they're not that intelligent, are they?
But money isn't evil. You can have it all. But it's the people who are evil.
But my point is,
money
don't necessarily make you intelligent, because someone should have made some research first of all and said, what are the attributes of carbon fibre? Is it good on compression? Blah, 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 blah.
So
they don't care.
It was already a death wish right from the beginning.
Of course it was. And I mean, you know what it is? These people are adventurers, because my mate...
You don't know what this is all about. You don't know this is his story.
My mate Kevin said to me, a lot of these people like taking risks. They're risk takers. They like having that...
For instance, the diagram looks like that, but really, it's like this. But they're making it look like it's bigger than it really was. It was tiny.
They like taking risks with their life, some people. I mean, you know, why the people go in racing cars now, why the people base jump
why was he going
buildings.
Down there? Just what? Because he could make money out of submarine trips down there?
I think he was in huge debt. I think that man...
I think he was.
I think that man owed millions and millions and millions, even though he was part of the elite himself. A lot of his backers were elite as well, and they started saying to him, listen, Stockton, it's time for you to start coughing up, matey boy. We want our money back. And
hang on, should we just look that up and see if he owed money? They would say that.
Would they be able to say it?
Hang on. Well, there's different talk about him. This one here is saying he had enough money to fund the expeditions, but he's made his money elsewhere. And that the ship was worth 25 million. And then we get down here, it says he was worth between 12 and 50
So
million.
my point is, he got backers. He definitely never funded this out of his own money, because most of these people, like, they do get funding from other people. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that he was up to his eyeballs in debt and creditors are asking for their bloody money back, realising this was a death trap? You know.
It's being investigated now, isn't it?
Yes. So yes, he was wealthy compared to sort of like, say, me and Karen. In elite circles, he was pretty much a pauper, because between 12 and 50 million, if you go down the middle of that, say he's worth about 25 million, that costs more than that to put together. Believe me, that craft. I mean, the titanium alone.
Well, it said 25 million.
So was that what they said? 25 million.
I was going to look at that. Is OceanGate still a business? No, it's not currently operating.
It's not currently operating. Of course it isn't. They're probably being sued.
Right, and then there was another one. Did the passengers suffer? Let's just see what it said.
Instantly, yeah.
Due to catastrophic
implosion, yeah.
of the vessel. The US Navy detected sounds constant with an implosion around the time the sub... Yeah, on the machines.
Instantaneous death. Show more.
No time for the passengers.
I said, you see what I said to you? I said, due to the extreme pressure and nature of the implosion, it's possible that the remains of the passengers would have been severely damaged, if not completely disintegrated, because of the pressure.
Right.
You've got, remember you saying to me why you wondered why there wasn't any bodies found? Because, like I said, try and imagine about 50 to 100 Rolls Royces on top of you. You've got that instantly.
I must admit, I did watch this video the other day. It was showing a car hitting a lorry. So it said at 10 miles, 20 miles, and they got up to like 90 miles. When it hit it at 10, it bounced off of it. Then it started, as the faster it got, more of the car went under the lorry. And by the end, when they got to their top speed, whatever it was, I can't remember, it was like 100 or whatever it was, most of the car went under the lorry.
Yeah, so can you imagine...
That was because it was different pressure then, wasn't it?
Can you imagine like what these went through with that enormous pressure at the bottom of the ocean when that imploded? Like they said there, the only good thing of this is it's an instantaneous death. They're literally, in less than a second, in microseconds, they would have suffered no pain. They were dead, basically.
When it
bang.
happened.
Literally, less than a second, they wouldn't know anything about it. It'd been quicker than anything.
That's horrible, isn't it? 1 second you're here, woo, without knowing it, you're gone.
Well, the thing is, they wouldn't have even heard what happened. It would have happened so quick with the implosion. So basically, is it beyond the realms of possibility? If he'd have been on his own now, this bloke, if he'd have been down on his own, I'd have said he's definitely done a Reginald Perrin. But because there's other people involved...
Well, they said there was. You don't know, do you?
The only thing is...
Actually, they showed you on that...
They showed the wife at the end.
They showed the wife at the end,
They
did show the passengers going onto it.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter, does it?
What I mean is, no, the people in the pictures... You saw them going onto the crop.
Yeah, what I mean is that don't mean anything, does it? They can stop that. They can get out, and that's.
Oh yeah, I'm saying they did show you that bit.
Yeah, but they showed that.
No, so they're making them look real.
They said that they showed that with all the Apollo program, didn't they? Getting onto the rocket, but it don't mean it's actually went into space. No, my point is.
And my other question, actually, while we were doing this is, how could they, without any problems, make those spaceships and they work and the whole thing and they live in them and their tunnels, which is the worst shape possible?
It couldn't take any pressure at all. They're made up. Now let's go back. Let's go to that a minute.
Saying you cannot.
Yeah.
The spaceship seems ridiculous if this happens.
Well, look at this. That's what I'm saying.
All right, should we just go there very quickly? This is the last bit.
They're made out.
And you would never allow the people on with all these wires. It is so dangerous. There's no way they can be on there. Now, this is another thing,
but
Karen. Look at the shape of it. This is the wrong shape for the... it just is, isn't
it? Let's combine the last...
So it's like the space station, but the submarine, but bigger.
Let's combine the last subject with this.
So how come they had no problems with any of this?
Right, now let me combine both of them. If you see the last thing, right, it was a real craft. It was a real craft for sure. It's made out of 5-inch thick, right, sort of like carbon fibre, with 5-inch thick, I believe, like 2 titanium end and back, right. It had no centre strut, which I think might have saved their life, might not have, but that's another story for another day. This thing here is made out of paper thin aluminium, right? And we're told it just blasé, just going around, going all around like the bloody atmosphere on it, like.
All I see is implosion.
It's the thing is, like, it lives in a vacuum, so they haven't got extreme pressure out there. But my point is, you know, you see what this thing is supposedly made out of, like, it's just like a big tin can. It's just a big tin can, whereas that submersible definitely did go to, well, if
you don't know if it, no, we don't know if any.
We don't know.
Because
I'm
they
being
make
kind.
the stories up. They want you following something for days on end.
I'm being kind. Is it
and
possible?
then like that, they have made a documentary about it, and it does look like they're going to do something legally because they haven't passed that yet. That was coming out, but it's just history.
I want to ask you a question, Karen. Right? Even the mother grieving, right? Would she, we know this from things that have happened in this country, we've done podcasts about it, would she take enough money, it sounds an awful thing because I don't want to believe it, to sort of like say, you know, oh, well, you know, your husband and your
Well, they've
your
sold
son
their
died.
souls, haven't they?
Yeah, so maybe...
All they've done is sell their faces,
yeah,
which they computer composite into videos and
now,
CGI it.
Before anyone...
They've sold their souls.
Before anyone out there say, Gal...
Because they don't have to do it or say it, they just get
Gary,
their computer composites
how could
to do
you
it.
ever say something like that? Listen, folks, this isn't the first time things like this have happened when we've proved that these people are still alive. What about the Challenger in 1986? An investigator like found sort of like 6 out of 7 still alive. So my point is it beyond the realms of possibility that people will do anything for money? Yes, because that's been proved with the Challenger disaster.
Did, because you've got videos now of him saying we never went.
Yeah. So the Challenger disaster in '86, unless they've all got twins, which we worked out.
Yeah, but you know what this is about. They want you to what it is. When I was younger, I remember on the news them saying that Nelson Mandela had died. He was married to Willie Mandela then, and she got everything.
Yeah.
And we forgot about it because we've had the Falklands, we've had the Gulf War, we've had so many horrible things with the Middle East on every day. And then what it is you forgot when he was crowned president of Africa. He died 20 years before.
It's all a distraction. Now anyone that hasn't watched your videos before, Karen, they're going to think, that Galactic gal, what a horrible callous son of a bitch. But people that have watched my videos again and said, he told us about the Challenger disaster in 1986, where you've actually got videos of the guy actually saying, oh, are you so-and-so? Oh, no, that's my brother. And he's got another one. Oh, that's my sister. That's my brother. So if anyone thinks these kind of things don't happen where people fake deaths, they're very much mistaken. It does actually happen. But if you sort of like see this now, right?
See all the flags on it, the flags on the International Space Station.
Yeah. When you think to yourself like this, a little tin can, and they go outside it and they sort of like do.
Wouldn't they have had it as tidy as possible? They would not have all those wires.
Don't you remember like when we done Asking Astronauts, Tim Peake, and I said he went out like, do you remember? And he went out with a gigantic big spanner. The spanner was about, I don't know, a 50mm spanner, like to do something, as if like they're going to make something with a 50mm nut and bolt. You know, it's about that bloody big, 50mm, because it's to show people, oh look, he's outside the spacecraft
and
doing
he's doing
work on
something.
It, and he's doing something. You know, he's earning his wages. But you know something.
There's a good one. Look, where was it? I've lost it. Where was it? Oh, I've lost it now. They've got the planet in it. Look at that. What a joke. Cartoon.
Yes, of course it is. It's all cartoons. The whole lot. That is done. That is all CGI and done in a big bath in Houston, Texas. I may add, the whole lot.
Well, NASA isn't really about space. NASA's making all these videos for you.
And basically, like they've actually got film now where they've sort of like you can see the frogman light in the
I've done that
helmet.
one.
We've done it before, haven't we?
Look at that. Would they put people in all these wires? Look, he's got a big bunch of wires there. Wires. There's more cameras up than anything else.
You know, my mate Kevin, like he believed in all this, like, but he used to be an electrician. So I said to him, Kev, do yourself a favour, like, and get up some photographs of the
International. Look at all those wires. Look.
The International Space Station. It's the worst electrician that ever lived.
It's not earthed.
It's the worst electrician that ever lived. You can imagine, like, an electrician wouldn't. The worst. Let's put it this way: if an apprentice.
Oh right, he's saying that this is all wrong. He would not. They would not have all these. They would make sure they would make sure they were pushed away and
if an apprentice
tape round them. You don't want to suddenly crack your foot in that and then say, "Oh dear, we're going to Mars."
If an apprentice,
not that they can, but you know what I mean. They could cause serious damage if they pulled these out. You don't know.
It's beyond ridiculous to think that people would think that something would be wired up with all them
and they
wires
call that
everywhere.
high tech. Look at those on there.
Yeah. Worst electrician ever.
Oh,
made.
I know. Let's just look at the inside. Let's look at all the wires and things everywhere.
Let's face it, the worst.
Look at that, there's one coming down there.
You couldn't do the electrics that bad if you wanted to.
But they're trying to make that look like that's high tech, but we all see basically should be thrown in the bin.
But the thing
and
is,
how could you let people live on it like that?
Karen, listen to this now. Everything's high tech. On aircraft, they have wireless flight. If this thing was as high tech as it was, you wouldn't have any wires. Everything would be controlled wireless anyway.
Well, they did make it a few years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, it's ridiculous. They'd make a Mark II version now because. But you know, even let's face it, even average Joe on the street.
Just wires. Oh, I've got to show you this one.
Someone that goes on a
that
plane.
one over there. Look at that. Look what he's sitting in.
How do
they know where all those wires go? What they do?
Well, someone that goes on a plane light and they know it's wireless would think to themselves, why on earth would you not make a Mark II now? They say, oh, well, they haven't got funding, have they? But I mean, we all know where the funding goes. Like, it goes into all the bankers' pockets anyway.
Well, they bring them up ice cream.
It all goes to the banksters. That's all CGI in a tank over in Houston.
It's all part of the game, darling.
Of course it is.
Look at that. Look at this. A good one over here. Look at these. Oh, my God. How could you have people... And don't forget, when they put those suits on, they're quite big. I mean, oh, we stop for a second and Gary's got a phone call. Right, we're showing inside the super duper ISS space station.
Well, I mean,
look at it all. It's just a massive wires.
As we said before, like, you know, they're just putting it in your bloody face. I mean,
fake.
why don't they? We all know, like, it's not in space anyway. Why do they not have all wires hanging around everywhere? Is it beyond the realms of possibility? Is to sort of like say to people like me and you and other people in our community, look what we can do, and the minions still don't get it. It's almost like rubbing it in our face, and I do believe that.
It's like her with her hair floating up, for God's sake.
I believe. I mean, she's a crisis actor. I've seen her before, like in Guantanamo Bay and everything. That one, unless she's got a twin sister.
But just look at the wires. Just look at all the wires. Yeah. Would you want to go on that? Look at that.
Yeah, it's just a big tin can. I mean, it's probably bought. Listen. Now this is back to what the last subject.
And it's the wrong shape.
This thing's in a water tank, right? But it's just below surface level. If you put that thing, right? If you put that thing a few hundred yards down in water, that would crush like a tin can. Do you know there's videos out there, Karen, like, of oil tankers? What they do, they have an empty oil tanker and they start evacuating the chamber. And even when they don't get to a very low torr, the whole thing crushes in. It's like a tin can. It's like you're putting your hand around a tin can. It's like Hulk Hogan getting his hand around a tin can and going.
Also, do you know when they actually film the footage, they never show you the ISS space station moving. It's only the globe.
Of course it is, because it's all CGI in a tank. This thing here, right? This thing here would take no pressure at all. There's a famous Russian sub that went down. And it didn't go nowhere near. It didn't go nowhere near as deep as what the Titan did, and it imploded. And they knew they was going to die. Unfortunately, like they, lost everyone because what you got to remember, submarines. They couldn't afford to build a submarine out of titanium, so they can only go so deep. Ordinary submarines don't go that deep. They can't do. They go relatively. They might go. I don't know what it actually is. And Submariner about to tell me a couple of 100 yards, maybe. I don't know. But for every sort of like another 100 yards you go, the pressure increases. This thing here, right, is in a water tank, but it's just below the water because they couldn't dare take it out of sea. I'd be scared of going that thing even in a bloody water tank, Karen, unless it started leaking and we was inside. And
we all know it when they're filming it is a flipping aeroplane.
Did you know
it's an aeroplane.
Did you know a few years ago? that someone stuck, they had a hole in it and someone stuck their finger in that.
Ridiculous.
I'm joking, right? And I'm not.
He'd have been sucked out.
Can you imagine it?
Then they'd have all been dead.
Do you know what I've found? I've found these last few years, Karen. I don't know, 6 or 7 years I've been doing all these podcasts.
Don't forget the virtual toy they had that turned up on one of the videos.
It's not so. It's not the fact that me and you are so intelligent. It's so that how thick most of the general population is, apart from
they
people,
believe it.
because they just believe it and don't do their own research. Back to what I was saying earlier, right? You imagine, like, if I'd have known the people that was going down in that sub, maybe they got a death wish and they said to me, "Oh, gal, never guess what, like, I'm
Put a bet on.
I'm going down in this submarine and all that." So I'd say to myself, "Oh yeah, oh right, okay. Is it a titanium hull? Oh no, it's this thing like with a glass with a carbon fibre like main hull. Oh right, okay. Do you want me to probably save your life, like, and save you a couple of $100,000? So you got a bloke that just went to college that cost my company like probably a couple of £1,000, telling these highly intelligent people, they must be highly intelligent if they got money. Surely they've made their money some way. Why would they do it? Why would they? You know what I really feel sorry for, Karen? I feel sorry for the mother. That's the mother of that 19-year-old boy. Now, if I was her,
you never know whether they picked them all to do it. Like you said, maybe he was on a death wish, and this way, I don't know what the point was of killing the other people.
It seemed like the mother was quite genuine. So
I mean, you know that things are not done by accident today.
But don't you think the mother would have turned around to the father and said, like, "You are not. You can go on it if you want. You're not taking my son on that." Wouldn't you think that would have crossed? You know, they're having their Sunday roast, like, "Hello, love. How's your week been?" "Oh, great. Like, I went down to sort of like Tesco's, like, see sort of like Joanne, blah blah blah. We had a cup of tea, spoke about the week. Oh, great. How's your week been, love?" "Oh, fine. I'm taking our son, like, on an untested submarine like that at the Titanic." "No, you effing ain't." You know, all these people live in another reality where they just don't speak about these things because, you know, if I'd have been round that table and I'd have been the older brother, I'd have said, "You're not taking my brother on that, Dad, on my bloody life. I'll kill you first," you know. But what can I say? Why do people do silly things? I mean, that they pay for it with their life, Karen. And to be honest with you, me and my mate Kevin both said the same thing. We both said we're actually amazed that the thing never imploded before. We're quite amazed that it lasted as long as what it did. If it did do 80 dives, which I don't think it did. I don't think it done 80 dives. Not down to the Titanic. It wouldn't have lasted that long.
Well, they haven't even done any of that on this, but this thing's floating around in space.
Yeah, well, listen, folks. When you've learnt a little
They're
bit...
not lying it's in space. They're just not telling you where the space is.
Yeah, space in a tank.
Yeah.
Space in a tank. When you've done a little bit of sort of like... I only went to college for 4 years and I've forgotten more, right, than what I ever learnt at college. When you learn enough about materials, Karen, you can see things straight away. It's just bang. You just go, no. I'll see things on TV. Like, no. But most people, like, because they just believe what they've been told, don't they? You know, and what can you do? We've been at this now for 6 or 7 years. The people we've woke up...
More than that, since 2016 for me.
I've been doing it with you about 6 or 7 years.
Right.
I've realised that if people ain't going to get it now, folks, they're never going to get it. So this is why I don't do street activism anymore, because there should have been a butterfly effect by now. And
But you know that they've shut everything down to get to... You know, like, when we first were on YouTube, you could find anything about 9/11, flat Earth, very easily.
Have you heard about the dead internet?
On 9/11, you have to get to about page 6 before you see a building go down. Well, that's what it was all about.
There's a lot of people now saying this thing called the dead internet, where basically...
Or is it dead YouTube? Is it YouTube?
The old internet. They call it.
Don't forget, YouTube have their own algorithms.
They call it the dead internet, and basically what they're saying is it's all controlled by AI now, and everything else has sort of like been completely put on the back burner. Well, I'll tell you what. I was earlier today, funny enough, Karen. I told you I was watching like a video, 2 videos actually. It was on YouTube by Moneybags, and he specialises in the Mandela effect, and it's quite incredible, really, folks, if you can actually see this, because he's asking AI about what was in this particular movie or what was in that movie, and the AI is getting it wrong, and the AI is turning around and saying to him, "Oh no, I don't remember that. I must be getting it wrong. So, you know, we live in a fluid
Well, it's
reality.
like the one I said, I remember on the news, and other people had things at their school, like little parties to celebrate that Nelson Mandela had died. 20 years later, he becomes president.
Yeah. I know.
And he's not married to Willie Nelson then.
For me, the top one of all is, I told you this before, is spelling a cemetery. I know it's wrong. It looks wrong. It's not E-R-Y, it's A-R-Y.
A-R-Y, yeah.
But when you try and put it in as A-R-Y, it's not. The first time I see this, when I first moved up to where I am now, Karen, I see it on a boarding cemetery. That don't look right. And I went home, and just like magic, what happens? You got someone that was investigating the Mandela effect. I can't remember who it was one of the researchers said about cemetery, and he picked up on it as well. There's too many things.
But we did a hangout about that. That'll be on the Sun and Moon
But
channel.
can you imagine like
Sun and Moon 2?
Can you imagine like everyone wanted definitive proof about the Mandela effect? Well, Moneybags has now got it. Would probably stand up in a court of law, because if AI gets it wrong, AI is actually, you know, you sort of like turn out your Alexa, Karen. You say, because Peter done it to me this morning. You know, because I work for a charity, like, one of the geezers under my care, like, I said, here, Pete, I said, we was watching on the buses, like, and I said, that Olive, like, she died in an house fire, like, you know. I said, Alexa, blah, blah, blah. Well, can't you imagine sort of like Moneybags is talking to a system 100 times more advanced than that, that's got, because every question he's putting it, the answer's coming straight back, but he's saying things like, you know, Mandela effects in the Bible and all that, and AI is getting it wrong, and AI is going like, oh, let me check on that. So even AI is getting it wrong.
But we're not supposed to know these things anyway.
We're not meant to know these things. So AI is getting it wrong. So when people out there are saying like, well, all right, okay, just like FE, give us some 100% bona fide proof that can stand up in a court of law. If I was to play it to a judge tomorrow, he'd have to turn up and say, yes, it looks like it is so. Just like Zen Garcia many years ago, when he offered someone £50,000 if they could prove we live on a globe. Someone tried to prove it in a court of law,
and he won.
He won because the judge turned around and said, "No, I cannot prove that we live on a globe." He said, "I can't prove we live on a flat Earth." So my point is, they wanted definitive proof. Anyway, Karen, we've written on enough. I want to go. Karen has got a new little toy downstairs. Like it's a spa. And we're going in it in a little while. It's been warming up. Like she's got like a jacuzzi, so I haven't got like a pair of trunks. But for God rest his soul, poor old Mickey like has a pair of.
No, it's Jimbo's.
Oh, Jimbo's got some trunks here. What size is he?
Well, hopefully you can get in them.
I've only got underpants on underneath. I don't want Ellie walking down and seeing me in a pair of underpants and the bloody.
Well, it's the same thing as swimming trunks. We'll worry about that bit later.
Worry about that bit.
We put this bit in because
there's not much to see with me anyway, Karen. It's not.
Gary! But when we're looking at this, I'm sorry, they would never have these people in here. So that's another. Well, I've seen frozen astronauts out in space when it's supposed to be live, so it's all not.
It's anyway, just all a big comedy show.
We're going to finish this because we're going to do a little bit about Christian.
Yeah, because a guy I did podcasts with like quite a few times, very good friends with Karen as well. I actually met him. I went to a Tartaria convention about 4 or 5 years ago in Birmingham, hosted by Martin Leakey, and I met Christian for the first time there, and we had a great time. He recognised me straight away. I recognised him because he was about like 6 inches taller than me. I said, "I know you are," straight away. You got to be Christian, like, because of the size of you. But we done many good podcasts together, and I'd have liked him here this day. I spoke to him a few weeks before he passed away, and I wanted to do another podcast with him. The thing with Christian, if you remember, Karen, we used to rub off on each other, and we used to like bring the best out in each other, didn't we? Like I would come out of a subject and he'd say, "Oh, Gal, there's one more thing about it. This is why anything we done today, bits I missed, they'd have said, oh, by the way, Gal, what about what about this?" You know, but of course, that's how we used to work. We used to sort of like rub off on one another, and we'd want to do a little podcast in recognition of his untimely death, which is very sad. I was actually down my my goddaughter's like in Bristol, like when Karen phoned me up and told me, and I had a tear in my eye and a pint of Guinness in my hand, and I thought, well, Christian wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Like, it was, yes, I was, you know, I did shed a tear, and I was in the right place at the right time, you know. At least I weren't on my electric-assisted bike, and you told me, like, I'd have probably bleeding crashed. So I was in the right place at the time, and thanks for that, Christian. So anyway, yeah, we'll do a little thing on memorial for him, yeah.
Yeah, so we're ending this now,
Yeah.
and
Well,
thank you so much for all those.
I hope you find this one quite interesting. I mean, it's some things I've done before, but some new things. But you know, with me, I just see things and I see fallacies and everything. It's the way my mind works, and obviously, like with all the subjects today, I see natural fallacies. And if anyone out there like knows more about materials than me, they might say to me, "No, Gal, you're completely wrong on the carbon fibre." I don't think I am, and I was proved to be correct in the end for the fact the thing imploded. So,
yeah, very sadly.
Very sadly. So basically,
sorry,
all the people that sort of like passed away, God rest your soul, and it was Stockton's fault really, because he didn't listen to people.
No.
When I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up and admit I'm wrong, but he didn't sort of like admit that, and unfortunately people died on that. So anyway, folks.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening to me and Gary.
Yeah, love you all, and keep promoting the truth, because there's very few of us out there, but we're getting very near tipping point. We're getting more and more. It's a hard slog.
Only 20% of the people voted.
Yes, and the thing is, the thing that happened a couple of years
ago. And they're telling you that.
The things that
so it's probably less than that.
The things that happened a couple of years ago, like with a capital C and a capital V. It woke up a lot of people that weren't. They done themselves no favours at all.
My kids have changed now.
That woke up a lot of people. That was one of the best things that ever happened to us, and they didn't do it again. That really woke up people. It woke up people that I know that didn't.
Well, actually, there's another strain of it out at the moment, which they're talking on the news.
Ooh. And there's me walking around shaking people's hands on the street and one thing and another, like, you know, when it was going on, and I'm perfectly okay. And people I know, you know what makes me laugh, folks? I'm going to leave you this one last thing. It's amazing how the indoctrination system, right, always gives them an answer for everything. When I turn around to people that I know that are always ill, that have had multiple jabs, they turn around and say to me, "Yeah, but Gal, I'm not as ill as what I would have been." Rather than turn around and say, "Hang on a minute, Gal, you haven't had one bleeding jab in your life, like, you know, and you're perfectly okay." And this is why I hope this isn't. You might have to cut this off because I said jabs. Am I allowed to say jabs?
Yes, that's all right.
Right. My point is, isn't it amazing how rather than the answer should be when you've got a brain like mine, like with Asperger's, you try and find the natural answer for any given subject, Karen. Now the answer should be, "Bloody hell, Gal. Yes, you're right." Because that's the Occam's razor answer, isn't it? How comes I've taken all these lot and I'm ill all the time? Why do they always have another explanation why they're ill, rather than think, "Hang on a minute, this don't make a bit of common"? There you go. We're dealing with people that sort of like believe anything they're told. I mean, I've always used my own initiative throughout my whole life, and it's done me pretty good to where I am now. And if I was to die tomorrow, I've done as much as I can within my parameters for the truth movement, haven't I, Karen?
Yeah, you did a bit about a vacuum with a glove in a vacuum.
Yes, well, I did that as well. I was the second person called Ralph Renee, one of my idols, like in 1974, after the fake moon landings. He proved that sort of like an astronaut in space with unequal pressure couldn't have any dexterity in his glove, and neither can Tim Peake or any of the others up the imaginary space station now. And I used to take it down Hyde Park, and literally it went viral across America for the fact I was the second person in history to do it. I got an old sort of like water canister with a bloody little glove in it, and I said to the bloke, I said, "Excuse me, mate, would you mind putting your hand in that glove?" And I evacuated the chamber, and I said, "What about that little bolt there? Can you possibly sort of like with your fingers?" Then this is with a pair of Marigold gloves. Now the NASA gloves were 13 layers thick. You wouldn't be able. Imagine trying to wipe your bum. You wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd have no dexterity at all. Yeah, so I was the second. That is my claim to fame. I'm the second person in history that's done that.
Oh, Gary.
Yeah, after Ralph Renee, one of my idols. After Bill Casing, Ralph Renee, and Bart Sabrell. People have got different opinions about Bart Sabrell, but he's done his research. Anyway, I love you all and leave you because I'll keep on talking for England, and I want to go and get in the spa. Nighty night.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.